Hey, are you actually looking to take better photos or improve the quality of photo taking with your camera? Then you need to know these 4 important aspects of photography that will help you to improve your quality of your photos right now. Hi, my name is Alvin, and it's very important if you are new to photography, you need to understand this exposure square. Alright, I know normally most other courses talk about exposure triangle, but I decided to make it a little bit different, calling it the exposure square, because most people never talk about the sensor size. Because there's so much talk about these 4 elements, alright, which are the sensor size, ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. I'm going through in detail in this tutorial about these 4 aspects of taking good photos by understanding these 4 aspects of the camera, and also going to talk about the sensor size, which is also very important, and I wish some of the courses online talk about it, but strangely no one talks about it. Okay, so I decided to add that in because it's very useful for people who are really new in taking photos. So sensor size, alright, why does it matters to you and to me? Okay, and what it is. Okay, so basically sensor size is the sensor that is in the camera. Alright, what you see here, the pink little square here is the size of the sensor on your iPhone 7, for example, and your typical phone size sensor is only this small. Alright, and a typical mirrorless camera is normally the green and red one, which is called the APS-C camera, which is around this size. Okay, you can see over there. There's another one that's not shown here, which is a micro four third camera, which is smaller than the green one, is around this size here. And the professionals, normally what they always like to say is to use the full frame. So you compare the size of the sensor to the phone, you can see the sensor size is bigger, and when you have a bigger sensor size, you have an advantage in certain things. So let me share with you why professionals always use full frame or APS-C cameras most of the time, or maybe micro four thirds. Okay, so why get a camera at the first place? Okay, in case you're wondering, alright, because no phone camera can ever capture as much detail or sharpness compared to a big sensor DSLR or mirrorless camera. Alright, give you an example over here. Alright, the picture on the right side is actually taken by the DSLR camera, and the picture on the left side is taken from the phone. You can obviously see there's more detail on the photo on the right here comparing to this. Okay, and you can see the background blur, we call it a bokeh, is much more blurred than this one. Okay, so definitely if you're interested to get better quality pictures, you want to have a photo like this and not like this. And if you're taking it for professional work, definitely you want a photo of this standard than this standard over here. So that's the reason why people invest in cameras, because they cameras can do things that mobile phone cannot do at this time or moment. In the future, we do not know, but at this time or moment, we definitely know small sensors do not have the ability to adjust aperture or certain things manually. Some of the time, you can't change lenses as well. So benefits of camera with bigger sensors. Large sensors actually provide high resolution with less noise and more detail. Okay, so because there's a bigger piece of metal able to receive all the light, you'll be able to receive more details and will have less noise. I will talk about the noise and all those things later on. Okay, so this one real example, you can see on the left. Alright, if you're taking this photo from a far shot and you're taking this photo just for social media use, which we talked about purpose in the other earlier videos, you won't mind using this picture. Either one is totally fine. Okay, if you're using it for social media, you can use iPhone, you can use a Nikon, is totally alright. In fact, the phone picture here looks slightly better than this, but most likely because this is not edited yet. If this is edited, it will look even as good as this as well. Okay, so but you will close up the photos, you will notice that iPhone actually what it does computerized background blur. You can see here, you can see there's a layer of thing here. all right, and in the camera you don't see that. Okay, so that's one thing that currently camera cannot do. All right, you cannot clearly do this because they don't have high aperture lenses. Okay, so that's one reason. All right, this may not be important to you if you are creating photos just for social media or Instagram. You can still use a phone, not an issue. But if you are doing it for professional work where you put it on big screen TVs and also on prints where this is very visible, it's not very nice to give such photos to customers. Okay, so it depends again on your purpose of your audience, which we talked about in other earlier videos as well. So large sensor also helps to improve low light performance, and a very popular website called DxOMark is the website you want to go to check it out. So they create this chart, okay, and basically shows here the larger the sensor, all right, the higher the ISO you can go. So generally most APS-C cameras can go up to around 1003 to 1004 ISO, all right, and you won't face any noise. Okay, noise basically means there's little like the image is not so clear. Okay, those who are in a Micro Four Third cameras is less than 1000, which is pretty low to be honest. Okay, and I'm lucky enough I didn't buy. I nearly bought this, but I didn't. I bought the in the middle APS-C cameras. I couldn't afford full frame. Full frame is the ideal situation, but it's also very heavy. That's the reason why I didn't go for full frame, because I need a camera that is light. Alright, the only full frame that is light right now is Sony. Alright, and that's where a lot of professionals right now are jumping to Sony because of their light full frame. And you can go higher ISO, no problem. The image will be still very sharp and clear as well. So that's the reason why, alright, you want to go for a larger sensor, and I hope that explains it very well as well. Also, another benefit of full frame is your dynamic range will increase. You can see Micro Four Third cameras on top, APS-C and full frame, even though the numbers are almost the same. But generally you can see that this sensor is smaller than this, and you can see that the generally is around 12. Okay, APS-C you can see is about higher than this. It's not 12, it's 14. So the higher the number, the more dynamic range. That means you got more lee room to actually get all the details from your images, especially the shadows and the highlights. Okay, so the higher the number, the better. So you can do adjustments as well. In full frame, definitely is more. And why a lot of people still prefer to use Nikon for photos, because of their high dynamic range. You can see here is very high, right, compared to Sony and Canon. Canon is lacking there. Okay, but on average, it's still not too bad. It's still usable, even though you use Micro Four Thirds, it's still okay. But if you're really particular about that dynamic range, then you go for the full frame, will have higher dynamic range. Okay, so also large sensor creates actually more background blur. So we have a chart here by DP Review. We can see, you can see here that Apple iPhone 5 has no blur. Okay, and small pocket cameras in general have very limited or little bit of blur. Okay, and only the full frame cameras or the APS-C cameras have reasonable or strong blur at the background, because somehow the market perceive blur background as professional photos. That's the reason why, because it will focus on the subject and making the photo much more appealing to the eyes and able to see the photos much clearer as well. Also, large sensors actually reduces the crop factor, right? When you actually buy a Micro Four Third camera, you only, the same where you're standing, will only see around this amount of space. Alright, you buy those even smaller camera like point and shoot cameras is even smaller, but the phone is even smaller, maybe around here only. Okay, so actually the bigger the sensor, the more it can capture, and the crop factor will be reduced. So ideally is most people use full frame where they have this, but it's not really an issue if you have a lot of space to walk up and down. This only will be an issue for crop factor is that when you are in small spaces, let's say you are in a very small room, you definitely will have problem using a point and shoot camera or Micro Four Third even. Okay, so that's the reason why people buy wide lenses, is to so that they can shoot in small areas. So crop factors, there's only two incidents I can think of, which is you're filming in shooting in small rooms, that's one, or you're shooting very far away. The crop factor will help you because you can zoom in more if you're into that. Okay, so that's basically the two things you can think about. So that's for the sensor side. So I hope you are convinced by now. If you are thinking of buying a camera and why you need to do so is because a larger sensor does have its benefit.